Secretary General for the Middle East, Asia, and the Pacific, Departments of Political and Peace-Building Affairs and Peace Operations. I would now give the floor to the Permanent Observer of the Observer State of Palestine.
Mr. President, we thank Pakistan for elevating this open debate to a ministerial level, and in this connection, we welcome Your Excellency presiding over this very important meeting. I also would like to thank ASG, Mr. Khalkhariari, for his briefing. Mr. President, 4-year-old Razan fought for as long as she could, but her body gave up and she died of malnutrition on Sunday. Yesterday, 6-year-old Yusuf died of starvation. He was among 15 people to starve to death in the last 24 hours in Gaza. Israel has ravaged Gaza. It has destroyed nearly everything in that narrow strip of Palestinian land. But nearly 2 million human beings remain, including 1 million children. They must be saved. Israel has destroyed everything: their lives, their homes, the mosques and the churches, the schools and the hospitals, the entire infrastructure of life, and even the cemeteries. But make no mistake, the real target is the 2 million Palestinians who remain in Gaza. For Israel, their destruction is required for its scheme to take over the land. The fact Netanyahu and his government are actively pursuing transforming Gaza into a land without a people through genocide and ethnic cleansing under the unconvincing disguise of voluntary migration has only been made possible by the impunity they enjoy. All of what is happening now was predictable, premeditated and planned. It is a criminal and cruel enterprise occurring openly for all to see. Do you know when was the first plan for so-called voluntary migration presented to the Israeli cabinet? 13th October 2023. Go back to what we said in this very chamber 20 months ago. We said this would be happening. It took tens of thousands of Palestinians killed for the world to acknowledge it. How many more need to die before getting the world to act to stop this genocide? Mr. President, in Gaza, starved journalists are reporting about starved health and humanitarian personnel trying to save the lives of starving infants and children and their starving families. People are dying of hunger and thirst by design or while desperately trying to get food or water by design. People are collapsing in the streets while being forcibly displaced yet again by design. People are being gunned down and murdered by Israeli soldiers for merely trying to get a bag of flour or lentils to feed their families, again by design. Every day now, we receive heart-wrenching messages from Gaza with few words: I am hungry. This is what our children are saying, and every individual in Gaza is saying, I am hungry. There is no food for my family. We are dying. Help us. What should we tell them? What should the Security Council tell them? that the whole world is against this starvation policy, and yet it is worsening. That no one wants to see people in Gaza starving, and yet the world watches on as they die of hunger and thirst. Should we read to them the strong statements issued or the resolutions adopted? What should we tell them? They hear of outrage, condemnation, pressure, and deals being made, but find no food to save their lives and the lives of their loved ones, or get shot to death while trying to reach it. They bury their sons and daughters every day. They grow thinner as their bodies eat away at them every day, wasting away, their struggle to survive more painful and more crushing every day. What should we tell them? That the negotiations for a ceasefire continue, and that in the meantime Israel has been given a right to massacre them and to deny them aid to life? Is that what international law stipulates? Is that what humanity dictates? What should we tell them? That this is the extent of what the world can do or is willing to do to save Palestinian lives? That the fact the perpetrators of these horrors are Israelis means they cannot be held to account? That there is aid at the borders and brave UN and humanitarian personnel ready to distribute this aid as they had done before, but we cannot get Israel to open the crossings and allow the aid to be distributed without killing those distributing it or those receiving it. What is our collective plan to actually save lives? What is being done now that could actually stop this horror? That is the only measure that matters. Are we doing what is necessary to save the millions of lives at risk? Are we upholding our legal, political, humanitarian, moral, and human obligations? And the answer is absolutely clear: we are not. So which one is it? Are Palestinian lives not worth saving? Or does Israeli supremacy extend as far as conferring upon Israel a right of life and death over the Palestinian people as a whole? Mr. President, it is now for every state to determine where it stands at this historical juncture. Every single country will be asked, what did you do during this genocide? Not what you said or what you considered doing, but what did you actually do? What did you do to stop it and stop the destruction of human life? There is no time to waste and no place for self-inflicted powerlessness. Countries have tools they need to use, nationally and collectively, to bring the genocide to an end. Ask yourselves, did we do everything possible? And I assure you, it is impossible to say yes. We call for a coalition of the willing to take every action necessary now to end the genocide, to uphold international law and save what is left of our humanity under the rubble in Gaza, and end the occupation and conflict. A year ago, the ICJ adopted a landmark opinion on ending the unlawful presence of Israel in the occupied Palestinian territory that spelled out in no uncertain terms the obligations of Israel and, as importantly, the obligations of third parties. You. Any state claiming to be a law-abiding state must take action to comply with this opinion and ensure it moves away from complicity and contributes to accountability. The General Assembly called over a month ago upon all member states to individually and collectively advance accountability and take all measures necessary in line with international law and the Charter of the United Nations to ensure compliance by Israel, the occupying power, with its obligations. Since the adoption of that resolution, more than 3,000 Palestinians were killed, the majority women and children. States must act now to stop these atrocities. I represented the state of Palestine at the meeting of the Hague Group in Bogota, Colombia, where countries came together and adopted concrete measures to halt the genocide and advance accountability. This is an important step in the right direction. Several of the countries represented here have also announced concrete steps and initiatives to the same effect. But much more needs to be done, and fast. The commitment is good by some, but it's not sufficient. We need more from all of you. Within days, not weeks, and certainly not months, we are out of time, because every day we fail to act, children are killed, starved, orphaned, burned, disabled, and traumatized. Families are shattered. Life is destroyed. Red lines are useless if they can be crossed over and over again without consequences. Rules are worthless if we are not willing to sanction their breacher. Words are meaningless if they are not followed by action. We need you to act, and act now. Of course, it is better to speak out rather than stay silent, but speaking out cannot be an alternative to action, especially when it is evident Israel is not listening and becoming only more brutal, only more dangerous. And we should not pretend we are not hearing what Israel is saying or not seeing what it is doing. Netanyahu, Katz, Saar, Smotrich, and Ben Gvir are clear. They say there are no innocent people in Gaza. They call our children children of darkness. They call our people human animals and have been acting accordingly. They spoke of inflicting death and destruction on all of Gaza, and they did. They are confessing to their own crimes and are committing them in plain sight for all to see. 7 decades of impunity make them confident they have no reason to hide their intentions or actions. Mr. President, we warn against all those who try to portray this conflict as a religious conflict, including those who do so to shield Israel from criticism and condemnation. This is not a conflict between Jews and Muslims. It is a war against Palestinian presence in the land of Palestine. Palestinian Christians are not spared. From Gaza to Taibe, from Bethlehem to Jerusalem. The Israeli strike against the Holy Family Church is not the first of its kind. By the way, this is the church that the late Pope Francis used to call every day. The historic Greek Orthodox Church of Saint Porphyrius in Gaza was bombed in the early days of the war, as was the great Omari Mosque. 2 Palestinian women were shot and killed on the grounds of the Holy Family Church back in December 2023. Settlers' terror attacks are about forcibly displacing Palestinian communities regardless of their faith and about stealing their land. Christians are harassed, attacked, and beaten like their Muslim brothers and sisters. When trying to celebrate their holy days, priests and nuns report attacks against them and the church properties. They are spat on, insulted, and threatened by Israeli extremists. This is not a conflict between Jews and Muslims. The diversity of our people reflects the diversity of this land and its rich history and its significance for all monotheistic religions. And the solidarity movement with Palestine is comprised of people of all nationalities and all faiths, coming together against injustice, against occupation and apartheid, against oppression and genocide. And it includes Israelis who care about justice, but also about Israel and its future. And they know that the path on which Israel has embarked, by which it thinks it can impose its will on the region through bullets and bombs and expects surrender than peace, is reckless and wrong and will lead to devastating effects for the region and the world. Mark my words, Israel's genocide in Gaza will redefine the region and our world for generations to come. And what we do next will determine in what way. Let me repeat that. Mark my words. Israel's genocide in Gaza will redefine the region and our world for generations to come. And what we do next will determine in what way. Mr. President, an alternative path is possible if we act now, where life is restored in Gaza, where freedom for the Palestinian people is achieved, where Palestinians and Israelis can live in shared space and security, and where the region as a whole can experience peace, stability, and prosperity. This path of just and lasting peace, upholding international law and based on the relevant UN resolutions and the fulfillment of the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people, including self-determination and the realization of their right to their independent state, and the implementation of the two-state solution, with Palestine and Israel living side by side in peace and security. This is the only path forward. It requires the mobilization of all states to advance freedom and justice leading to peace and security. The international conference to be convened by Saudi Arabia and France at the end of this month offers a unique opportunity to transform international law and the international consensus into an achievable plan and to demonstrate resolve to end the occupation and conflict once and for all, for the benefit of all peoples and of all the states of the region. That is the path that must be taken with courage and commitment and without delay. Mr. President, It all starts with Gaza, with the children of Gaza. For now, history will remember us all for the lives we failed to save. But many more lives remain to be saved. Let us not fail them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Permanent Observer of the Observer State of Palestine, for your statement. I will now give the floor to the representative of Israel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe this chamber and the UN would benefit from something basic, a full and honest overview of the current state of our region. Let's begin in Gaza, where Hamas continues with its deprived tactics. 50 innocent people remain held hostage. Israel has been working tirelessly to bring them home. We have made compromise after compromise, crossing lines no other nation would consider. But Hamas has rejected each and every offer. Even as we speak, we receive rejections from Hamas. For Hamas, the suffering of its own people is their greatest weapon. The longer the misery continues, the longer they can feed it into their propaganda machine. I am sure that all of you will address the humanitarian situation. But I will remind you, you all must focus your pressure where it belongs, on Hamas. They are the ones who are saying no to the offer. If you don't believe me, you can ask the US, Qatar, Egypt, the ones who are trying to negotiate. They are rejecting every offer. In Lebanon, the new government has made promising statements about reform, and we are listening. But Hezbollah is busy attempting to rearm and reassert itself in southern Lebanon and Beirut. We have seen this movie before. We know how it ends. Israel will never allow this to happen. We will not permit Hezbollah to rebuild its terror infrastructure on our northern border. In Iran, the genocidal regime that spent 12 days launching missiles at Israeli civilians is trying to restart its nuclear program. Since today we have the so-called privilege of the presence of Deputy Foreign Minister Rabadbi here today, so let me ask him directly, what is your plan now? Will you continue with your murderous agenda? Will you keep running toward a nuclear bomb? Will you keep expanding your ballistic missiles for attacks on civilians? Will you keep pumping money